Imagine this. You're standing at a crossroads, right? Path ahead is murky, uncertain, and the stakes, they're sky high. It's that moment, that split-second decision a leader has to make under intense pressure, the kind that could change absolutely everything. Now, we often picture military leadership, discipline, command structure.
My hierarchical aspect.
Exactly. But underneath all that, there's this really deep intellectual core. And it's completely vital for success, not just on the battlefield, but really in any complex situation.
Absolutely essential. It's the thinking behind the action.
So today we're going to dive deep into the foundations of Army leadership. You've pulled together some amazing sources for us, foundational doctrine, things like ADP 622, FM 622.
Right, the core manuals.
And also some fascinating research on creative thinking, visualization, really interesting stuff. Our mission here is pretty clear. Let's pull out the core ideas. What makes a leader really effective, especially when things are uncertain, unknown?
And crucially, how are these skills actually developed? It's not magic.
Right. Think of this as your shortcut, yeah. A way to really get inside the minds behind successful, adaptive leadership. So here's the plan. First, we'll unpack those core intellectual traits of really effective leaders.
Building blocks.
Then we'll get into creativity and visualization, how they're not just talents you're born with, but skills you can actually build. Skills you need for complex problems.
Developable skills, definitely.
And finally, we'll look at that deliberate path of leader development. Self-awareness, mentoring, all that good stuff. And what it means for you listening. Okay, let's jump in. So Army leadership, it's built on these three core attributes: character, presence, and intellect, and three competencies: leads, develops, achieves. Our focus today, it's squarely on intellect.
And intellect here is so much more dynamic than just, being smart. It covers mental agility, sound judgment, innovation.
Interpersonal tact, expertise. It's broad.
Exactly. It's about applying intelligence actively. Take mental agility. That's the ability to spot when change is needed, figure out what change, and then, crucially, make it happen.
So it involves both critical thinking and creative thinking.
Precisely. You need both sides of that coin.
And isn't that something we can all relate to? I mean, how often do we get stuck in our jobs, our lives,
Constantly.
the way we've always done it? Mental agility is about breaking out of that rut, being nimble enough to adapt when things get uncertain or change fast. It's like the opposite of inertia.
That's a great way to put it. And tied right into that is sound judgment.
Okay, judgment.
This isn't just about IQ points. It's about sizing up situations accurately, drawing rational conclusions, and making, timely, sensible decisions.
There's that great quote from General Omar Bradley you found.
Ah, yes. It's profound. Judgment comes from experience, and experience comes from bad judgments.
Wow. That really hits home. So the mistakes, the bad judgments, they're actually stepping stones.
If you learn from them, yes, they're data points for building wisdom.
Provided you actually reflect and learn. That makes me think, how do organizations actually encourage that? That kind of learning from failure?
That's critical. It means creating a climate where mistakes aren't just punished, but they're analyzed, where lessons are pulled out and actually integrated.
Like a feedback loop.
Exactly. A continuous feedback loop, learning through trial and error, watching others. That's how you build solid judgment over time.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
Okay, and then there's innovation. Another one of those words that sometimes feels a bit abstract.
Or siloed, People think tech department. But innovation here isn't just about new gadgets. It's about bringing new ideas to the table.
And producing solutions that are novel, but also appropriate, right? That fit the need.
Yes, appropriate is key. It takes creativity, sure,
Yeah.
but also that hard-nosed critical thinking. And motivation, a real drive to improve things.
Constantly asking, how can we do this better? Given what we have, what are the constraints, the opportunities?
That's the innovative mindset.
So talking innovation naturally leads us to creativity. And I think, a lot of people still think, oh, creativity, that's for artists, designers.
Right, the creative types.
But these sources really push back on that. They say it's innate, it's human, and importantly, everyone can get better at it.
Absolutely. It's a skill to be developed. Highly creative people, they often share traits like deep curiosity, being willing to take some calculated risks.
And being okay with not having the answer right away, that ambiguity.
Exactly. Comfort with ambiguity. And that mix of curiosity and just broad knowledge. It lets them connect dots others miss, make associations, combine ideas efficiently.
And this isn't just theory, right? This kind of thinking is critical in what people call VUCA worlds.
Volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous, yes.
For listeners facing those conditions, how does creativity help leaders navigate that kind of chaos?
Well, in VUCA situations, critical thinking and creative thinking have to work together. You can't just analyze your way out.
You need new options.
You need the creative spark to even imagine new ways forward. And then you need the critical thinking to figure out, okay, how do we actually do this? How do we make it work?
So it's about shaping outcomes, not just reacting.
Precisely. Reducing the chaos, imposing some order through ingenuity.
There's that amazing example from the Russia-Ukraine war you brought up. It really shows how brilliant solutions sometimes come from, well, old stuff used in new ways.
It's a fantastic illustration. The Ukrainians needed a cheap, scalable way to take down drones. So what did they do?
They got creative.
They took these 20mm Astava M55 anti-aircraft cannons, basically World War II era designs, and they mashed them up with modern off-the-shelf tech.
Like CCTV cameras.
2 Chinese CCTV cameras, yeah, and a consumer tablet mounted on a flexible arm for targeting. It wasn't a new weapon system from scratch. It was a clever recombination of existing, even old tools. Novel, unexpected, and effective.
Just brilliant, really. And then
Yeah.
there's the Black Sea situation. Ukraine, not a major naval power.
Not traditionally now.
Basically forcing Russia's much larger fleet out of huge areas. How?
Again, it's critical and creative thinking applied to new tech. They use things like 3D printed uncrewed surface vessels, sea drones, in incredibly innovative ways.
Punching above their weight.
Massively. It shows how a smaller, more agile force can outthink and outmaneuver a larger, more conventional opponent through sheer ingenuity. They broke the conventional playbook.
Okay, so we see why creativity is vital. But how do we actually encourage it? In our teams, our organizations, the sources mention brainstorming techniques.
Right. There's traditional brainstorming where everyone throws ideas out openly, maybe on a whiteboard.
The classic approach.
Then there's nominal brainstorming. Here, people think up ideas individually first, then share them for the group to combine or refine.
Ah, so you avoid that initial groupthink.
Potentially, yes. And there's electronic brainstorming too, virtual, maybe anonymous, people contributing ideas simultaneously. And the research suggests nominal and electronic often yield better results.
That's a key insight, isn't it? Letting people think privately first can unlock a wider range of more unique ideas before the group dynamic takes over.
Exactly. People feel safer generating ideas if they aren't immediately judged. That principle is core to the diverge-converge method.
Okay, diverge and verge. Break that down.
It's simple, really. First, you diverge. You deliberately try to generate as many options, as many ideas as possible. Go wide.
Don't filter yet.
Not yet. Then, only after you've got a rich pool of possibilities, you converge. You start narrowing down, evaluating, selecting the best path forward.
So during that diverge phase, how do we make sure we're actually getting that creative explosion? What are the practical tips? How do we avoid shutting down good ideas too soon?
Rule number 1, defer judgment. Just collect ideas, don't critique them yet. Number 2, quantity breeds quality. M for lots of ideas. The great ones are often buried in there.
Keep going even if some seem silly at first.
Absolutely. Encourage hitchhiking, building on someone else's idea. Actively try combining and modifying ideas. And consciously fight the urge to rule things out too quickly.
Avoid those idea killers, right? Too expensive, won't work. We tried that.
Exactly. And sometimes, especially under pressures, satisfying picking a good enough solution quickly can actually be a creative adaptation. It's not about avoiding risk either, but assessing it realistically later in the converge phase.
That's a really practical set of tools.
Yeah.
You also mentioned diversity and even, maybe surprisingly, conflict.
Yes, but specifically task conflict. That means people having different opinions about the work itself, about the best way to solve the problem.
Not personal conflict.
Definitely not personal conflict. Groups with healthy task conflict, they tend to produce work that's more original, more divergent, more complex. But, and this is a big but, you need to have built trust first.
So the team needs psychological safety before they can productively disagree.
Precisely. Without that trust, task conflict just turns into personal clashes and innovation dies.
So, for you listening, how could you use these ideas? Brainstorming, diverging, converging in your own work. How could you build that trust to allow for productive disagreement and spark real innovation? Worth thinking about. Okay, so we've got ways to generate ideas, but then what? How do leaders translate those ideas into clear action? How do they see the path forward when everything's chaotic? This sounds like visualization.
Exactly. And visualization here isn't just, passive daydreaming. It's an active cognitive process.
Of individuals and teams.
Both. It's crucial for making sense of what's happening right now and, importantly, anticipating what might happen next, especially in those dangerous, uncertain situations. Clausewitz called the fog of war.
The better you can visualize, the better your plans, the fewer surprises.
That's the idea. It helps minimize the impact of the unexpected.
You mentioned that story from Malcolm Gladwell's Blink the Fire Lieutenant. Can you remind us what happened there? It really illustrates something powerful.
It's a classic example. This lieutenant pulls his crew out of a burning house. It seemed quiet, just really hot. Moments later, the floor collapses. He couldn't explain why he did it, even wondered about ESP.
But it wasn't ESP.
No. Gladwell argues it was years of experience, deeply ingrained. The lieutenant always kept his ear flaps up, listening to the fire. He subconsciously picked up on subtle cues. The fire was too quiet for how hot it was. That mismatch triggered an intuitive alarm bell.
So, intuition honed by deep experience.
Experience and training working together almost faster than conscious thought.
That's fascinating, that blend of intuition and more deliberate cognitive thinking.
It is, and we see it historically too, like with LTCMDR Joseph Rochefort before the Battle of Midway in World War II.
The code breaker.
Right. He had this strong gut feeling and intuition that the Japanese code AF meant Midway Island. But intuition wasn't enough proof for Admiral Nimitz.
He needed confirmation.
So Rochefort devised a cognitive test, a deliberate trick. He had Midway send out a fake radio message, in plain English, saying their water purification system was broken.
Whatever.
And sure enough, soon after, U.S. intelligence intercepted a Japanese message saying AWAF was short on fresh water. That was the proof Nimitz needed. Intuition pointed the way. Cognition provided the evidence for action.
Brilliant. So it's not just having visualization skills. Leaders need resilient visualization, right? Something that holds up under pressure.
Exactly, because stress, uncertainty, high stakes, a fast tempo, all that stuff degrades thinking if you're not prepared. Resilient visualization withstands adversity.
So how do you build that resilience?
Situational awareness is key. That means constantly scanning the environment for trends, monitoring for specific threats and opportunities, gathering competitive intelligence, what are others likely to do, and forecasting potential future states.
Painting that mental picture with real data.
Right. Feeding the visualization process with good information.
And the sources mention something called stress inoculation. Sounds intense.
It is, but it's effective. Dave Grossman talks about this. It involves deliberately adding stressors into training, like sleep deprivation, intense time pressure, maybe using tactical breathing techniques.
You're not just training the skill, you're training the skill under duress.
Precisely. You build cognitive resilience, making leaders more comfortable operating in ambiguity and chaos. It's like giving them the psychological experience of combat without the actual bullets.
And training can be fine-tuned too, using game theory variables.
Yeah, things like how much information people have, the level of certainty, assumptions about rationality, the time available. You can adjust these on sliders, basically.
To make exercises harder or easier, to target specific weaknesses.
Exactly. It pushes leaders to develop more robust, flexible visualization skills tailored to the complexity they'll actually face.
So, for you listening, how do you visualize things at work or in life? What happens to your mental picture when stress hits? How could you maybe practice seeing through your own fog of war a bit more clearly? This whole conversation about developing these intellectual muscles, it really brings up that age-old question. Leaders, born or made?
Ah, yes, the classic debate.
The Army doctrine seems pretty clear on where it stands.
It really does. There's a deep, fundamental commitment to leader development. It's seen as this complex, constant, and crucially deliberate process.
Not accidental.
Not at all. It involves teaching, training, coaching, mentoring, study, learning, a whole ecosystem. The core belief, laid out in FM 622 and other places, is that leaders are made. And that requires serious, sustained investment.
That deliberate investment in people. The Army views that as its asymmetric advantage, right, in this volatile world.
Absolutely. It's about building adaptable leaders ready for future uncertainty and fostering the deep trust needed for teams to function under pressure.
A huge part of that has to be self-development, the individual taking ownership.
Definitely. It starts with self-awareness, really knowing your strengths, your weaknesses, then setting clear goals for where you want to grow, and committing to being a lifelong learner.
Tools like individual development plans, IDPs, they help structure that.
Yes. Subordinates use IDPs to map out short-term, long-term goals, both career and personal. They own the plan, but leaders help refine it, ensuring it aligns with the team's needs too.
And for all of us who learn from reading, lectures, even deep dives like this one, there's that practical method, SQ3R.
SQ3R, survey, question, read, recite, review. It sounds like a study technique, and it is, but it's more like a cognitive hack.
A hack? How so?
It forces you to actively engage with the material, not just passively read it. You survey first, form questions, read to answer them, recite the key points from memory, then review. It makes information stick much better, deeper processing.
Turns passive intake into active knowledge building.
Exactly. And beyond methods like that, self-analysis is encouraged. Asking yourself after a situation, what did I feel? What did I think? What did I actually do? How did my actions impact the outcome? It helps pinpoint strengths and areas needing work.
So individual effort is key, but feedback from others is also vital.
Absolutely critical. Feedback is how you accelerate learning from just doing your job day to day, which is often where the best development happens.
It can reinforce good stuff or help you see where you need to adjust.
Right. And the SRR method is a good structure for giving feedback. Situation, observation, associate and assess, reinforce, and recommend.
Okay.
It guides the conversation, encourages the person receiving feedback to self-assess first, which builds ownership. And importantly, feedback should ideally be based on patterns of behavior, not just one single incident.
And timing matters too, right? Being sensitive to when someone is actually receptive to hearing it.
Crucial for it to land effectively.
Then we get into the more relationship-focused development, coaching and mentoring. What's the difference?
Good question. Coaching is usually more focused, more targeted. It's about helping someone improve a specific skill, perform a particular task better, or change a specific behavior. Think performance enhancement in a defined area.
Like a sports coach for a specific technique.
Sort of, yeah. Mentoring, on the other hand, is broader, more holistic. It's a voluntary relationship, usually between someone more experienced and someone less experienced.
Built on trust and respect.
Absolutely. It often happens outside the direct chain of command, maybe even peer-to-peer sometimes. It's less about fixing a specific problem, more about overall growth, guidance, perspective.
So a mentor is more like a guide for the journey. A coach is more like a trainer for a specific leg of the race.
That's a decent analogy. Key skills for a mentor: active listening, really hearing what's being said, holding back judgment, asking powerful questions that make the mentee think for themselves.
Not just giving answers.
Right. And offering feedback that adds real value, maybe offers a totally new perspective. The benefits are huge. The mentor grows, the mentee grows, and the whole organization gets stronger leaders and builds this culture of continuous learning.
It's clear this development happens everywhere, not just in classrooms. The sources mention lots of other learning opportunities.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Professional reading programs are big. Using established lists, reading journals, engaging in online forums, it just broadens your thinking.
Staff rides, battlefield tours, museum visits, those sound powerful.
Very immersive. They give you context for past decisions. You can stand on the ground, see the terrain, analyze why leaders made the choices they did. Really valuable for critical thinking.
And hey, it's good to see podcasts like this one explicitly mentioned.
They are. Recognized as useful tools for professional development, covering all sorts of leadership topics, a great way to supplement other learning.
The caveat being,
leaders should, check out the content first. Make sure the hosts, the guests, know their stuff and that it's relevant and high-quality information. Due diligence.
Makes sense. Now, we've talked a lot about effective leadership.
Yeah.
But it's probably worth briefly mentioning the opposite. Counterproductive leadership.
Yes, the doctrine defines this clearly. It's any leader behavior that violates core competencies or Army values, stuff that actually undermines the mission, hurts morale, leaves the team worse off.
Actively harmful.
Actively harmful, yes. It degrades readiness, negates advantages. The Army is very clear about needing to identify and stop these behaviors. It's the antithesis of the positive, influential leadership we've been discussing.
So, wrapping up, we've really unpacked how these intellectual traits, mental agility, judgment, innovation, the resilient visualization aren't just nice-to-haves. They're core developable skills. And we've seen how organizations like the Army are incredibly deliberate about building these skills. Through structured programs, tough feedback, coaching, mentoring, diverse learning, all aimed at creating adaptive leaders for a really uncertain future.
It's a massive ongoing investment in people, preparing minds for future challenges.
Which brings us back to that powerful idea, leaders are made, not born. If that's true, really true, then what potential is lying dormant inside you, listening right now, or in the people around you? Potential just waiting to be deliberately cultivated.
Especially now, when the world demands more agility, more creativity, more resilience than ever before.
So here's the final thought for you. What's one step, just one, you'll take this week to develop your next critical leadership skill? How will you apply what we've talked about to better see through your own fog of war?